Hello everyone and welcome to another royal reading, and this reading is using the Tarot of Curious Creatures, gorgeous deck, and I'm using it because a rather curious sight that we saw at the funeral was Sophie driving in the car with Meghan Markle, very stony faced pair, and apparently according to Neil Sean, Sophie is the one who suggested this, and she suggested it to spare Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who otherwise would have had to suffer the horror of going in a car with basically her mortal enemy, the woman who has trashed her in public, who has tried to wreck her marriage by all accounts, and speculating that Meghan is behind those awful rumours that have gone around, and that Meghan, of course, blamed Catherine for the tears and the tantrums at the dress fitting, and was awful to Charlotte, and has ogled Prince William, allegedly. She has allegedly taken photos of private areas of the then Cambridge's homes. She really has gone all out to make Catherine's life a living hell. And I went and looked at one of the Twitter accounts that is allegedly Meghan Markle's, Myra, and Princess Sussex, and an appalling meme about Catherine today. There was a silence yesterday while Myra was busy at the funeral, allegedly, and speculating, and she's bounced back with a vengeance today, and in her sights, Catherine again. So that's a preamble, and I have to say that this is all speculation. Everything that I have said so far is speculation, and this is a tarot reading for entertainment purposes. It is all my opinion. It is all speculation. There is a disclaimer in the box below. Please read it, and please form your own opinions about Meghan Markle and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and the possible relationship there. And also Sophie. But I'm going to do a 5-card reading with the Tarot of Curious Creatures. I'm going to see how Sophie felt about Meghan, and how Meghan felt about Sophie, because apparently when she heard the news, she almost lost her nerve and did a runner. We wish that she had. And then behind the scenes, what was said? There was silence in the car for a while. Did Sophie read Meghan the Riot Act? Tell her exactly what she thought of her? What happened in the actual behind the scenes? The universe wants to tell us. I particularly want to know what Sophie said, or wanted to say to Meghan. If she said it, be interested to know. And one more shuffle, apparently. One more shuffle. And that was the Knight of Swords that came out, which is pretty much, I think, the energy of this reading. But anyway, let's see, 5-card reading, see what's going on. Sophie's view of Meghan, Meghan's view of the whole thing. Was she terrified or not? And hidden energy, what happened in that car, what was said. And there we go. Underlying energy is the Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is Prince William. Interesting that has popped up. And it's not Sophie offering Meghan a gesture of friendship, I don't think. I don't think at all. It might have been presented as that, or Sophie would love to drive with you. But I think really what's going on is that behind the scenes, underlying energy is Prince William. I think Prince William asked this, that the message came from him. Please, dear Sophie, help. And that is what happened. And yet again, I'm on dog duty and opening doors. So I'm going to disappear for a second. And I'm back. And heart of this reading, this situation. Temperance. And I have to say that outfit, it's a bit of a Catherine outfit that the angel is in. The black cat with the angel's wings is a curious creature. A bit of a Catherine dress, but it's also, I have in my mind somewhere along the line that I have seen Sophie in a dress made of a fabric that looks a bit like that, a white dress. I'm sure somewhere along the line I've seen something like that, maybe with lace, something. But there is a Sophie energy around this, and this is to keep the peace. The Temperance card. This is the situation. She needed to keep the peace. She needed to pour oil on troubled waters, as the Temperance card is all about. Normally you actually see the angel stepping in to ride with the devil. The angel saying, I'm going to come along and keep things on an even keel. I'm not going to lose my temper. I'm just going to make sure that everybody stays cool, that people are kept apart who need to be kept apart. I'm going to intervene whenever I need to intervene. I'm going to manage the situation, balance the situation, make sure it's harmonious, make sure that everybody keeps their temper, they don't lose their temper, they don't do rash things, that things don't get heated and ugly, while more than half the world is watching, literally. So she really stepped up here. It's in very high energy. It's a major arcana. It's one of the highest cards because it is angelic energy, literally, the Temperance card. So that's our girl, that's our Sophie, dueling with the devil on behalf of this Knight of Cups, who asked her to please help me, help my wife, help my family. We're struggling and you are the one who can do it. So how does Sophie feel about all of this, having to do this? How did she feel? And it's the Empress in reverse. Not something that filled her with joy. Not something that filled her with joy at all, because the Empress is a very happy card. It's a very abundant, creative, blissful card. Really, it's a card about love and beauty and being joyful, serene. Really, and it is also, of course, the Queen, and so the energy of the joy and all of that, the bliss that the Empress is, that energy of the planet Venus is in reverse, but also the Queen is in reverse. The Queen has fallen in this, the Empress literally in this card has fallen. She did it for the Queen. She did it for her mother-in-law, her much loved mother-in-law, and she took one for the team, quite literally. This was a big deal for her. This was a very emotional thing for her to do, I think, because Venus is also about love. It's about your value, your worth, how attractive you are as well, in a very sort of low energy kind of a way, but higher dimension, higher vibration of Venus. It's very high, a level of love and devotion, almost like serving in a I don't want to say sisterhood, that's wrong. I'm thinking about Greece and the temples and the women who would serve in those temples. That level of service and devotion that I'm getting from this card, that is what she did. We got big cards coming in here for Sophie, the Temperance card and the Empress in reverse, but it was difficult for her. It was a struggle for her. She would like to have gone to that funeral and just been able to grieve and being able to enjoy it. Joy is the wrong word, but being able to engage and be in the moment with it and go through it, instead of having to play this game that she had to get in between people who are at odds. How did Meghan feel about it? Was she intimidated? Did she not care? How was it for her? 5 of Cups in reverse. Difficult for her. Very, very difficult. The 5 of Cups is one of those uncomfortable cards. It's uncomfortable energy. It's energy of grief and loss and regret and remorse. And I think particularly now, remorse. She's dealing with people who are grieving, and she knows that they are grieving. She herself not grieving. Fake tear, in my opinion. That one fake tear she squeezed out for all the world to see on the cover of all the newspapers. Very pleased with herself for that, I'm sure. Only Meghan shed a tear at the funeral. But she's dealing with people who are grieving, and when people are grieving, they don't necessarily do the right thing. Mind their P's and Q's. This is not a card of fear and anxiety and running away, but it's being intimidated, I think, by the level of grief, heartfelt grief, that people around her were experiencing. I don't think she's ever experienced anything like that. She is, according to speculation, narcissists. Narcissists don't really feel other people's pain. They only feel their own ego pain. That's my very simplistic idea of it. I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not diagnosing. I am simply stating how I understand the situation to be, and from my own experience with people who display certain levels of narcissism. But I think she was intimidated by the level of grief and solemnity that Sophie really was. Very upset, and not only Sophie, everybody around her. I don't think she realized that. I don't think she realized that the Queen was actually a human being, a person, a mother, a grandmother, a great grandmother, a much loved person. I don't think she realized that. I just think she saw her as somebody she could exploit, try and extort things from, and milk situations, and then when she didn't get her way, somebody she could badmouth in public, and sees her own father that way as well, very obviously from the way she's treated him. But I think intimidated by Sophie's very obvious distress, deep grief, grief that she kept under control, because we've got the Temperance card there at the heart of this, but very, very deep grief. And Meghan herself, I think, felt some degree of remorse, was herself a bit stricken, but for herself. Five of Cups, I think, grieving for herself, anxious for herself, and what this might mean for herself, what she has lost. The Five of Cups is very much focusing on one's own grief, just by the way. So it's not telling me she wanted to run away, it's telling me that she was intimidated. What went on in that car? Were words exchanged from Sophie in particular? Did Sophie give her a dressing down? The Three of Wands in reverse. Three of Wands in reverse is a withdrawal energy. It's a withdrawal of expectation and hope and interest. So I think that Sophie was just grey rocking her. Very quiet, very withdrawn. I don't think she said anything. I don't think she gave her a lecture. But I think that she was just utterly silent and withdrawn. The Three of Wands upright is an expansive energy, an optimistic energy, hopeful that blessings are coming. And its threes are always participating with people in projects. And when it's in reverse, of course, the Three of Wands, you give up hope, you withdraw, you retreat. You are not collaborating on something with anyone. You are sunk in your own thoughts, your own grief, your own silence. And I think the silence was intimidating. So no harsh words there, just silence and very withdrawn, and very difficult for somebody who's as chatty, me, as Meghan Markle, to deal with a situation like that. A long silence, a frozen silence, being frozen out, probably started her babbling at some point, just to cope with it, to make noise in the car. But I'm sure that Sophie treated it with absolute disdain, indifference. She gave Meghan those filthy looks from time to time. But I would imagine Sophie has quite a sore neck right now from all the stress of looking out the window and ignoring Meghan. That's an ignoring card. The Three of Wands in reverse, very cold shoulder presented to Meghan Markle. And the outcome, how did it go in the end? What will transpire? And there she is, Meghan. 10 of Wands. the outcome for Meghan. I didn't specify that, but that's what's written on my notes that I'm looking at as I'm going through this reading. I always do that, to write the questions down, think about them, meditate, choose the deck very carefully. And Ten of Wands, a burden. It was very tough. It was very, very, very tough for Meghan. Don't doubt, because I'm doing this reading really from Sophie's point of view more than from Meghan's point of view. And the cards aren't terrible. They're not terrible. And they're very, specifically not terrible, because the situation was handled with grace, temperance. It was requested and it was handled with impeccable manners and poise with that temperance card. But it was difficult for Sophie. She was grieving. She did it in a situation where she felt obligated to the Queen and the family, and it was difficult for her. It was difficult for her, but she handled it. So I'm not seeing Ten of Swords and Tower and Death and all those kinds of dramatic cards, because the situation was public, and so it couldn't turn into a cat fight in the back of a car while the whole world watched, or at least half the world watched. So it was held back. Emotions were held in check. Held in check. Five of Cups. Emotions held in check, but deep enough to make Meghan very uneasy, to start babbling. But for Meghan, the outcome, the Ten of Wands, the burden, the loneliness, that it was very draining. The Ten of Wands is an exhausted energy. You've carried this burden a very long way. I would say it's also Sophie. Just by the way, Sophie also, by the end of it, exhausted, drained. Wow, that was a long, hard day. I can't wait to put this burden down. I can't wait to put this Meghan Markle burden down. So both of them, actually, both of them, by the end of the day, I hope I never have to see that woman again. Both probably felt that way. I don't think there was it was lovely to share the ride with you and keep you company in your grief, and you in yours, and kiss and hug and all the rest of it. I don't think there was any of that. There was just a disappearing act at the end. But lonely, difficult, tough, exhausting, draining. Ten of Wands is a maximum level of exhaustion and draining. I think Meghan felt it more than Sophie did, but I think Sophie was pretty shattered by the end of it. Sophie in the right, knowing she was doing it for the right reason. She was asked to. She was divinely guided with that temperance card. She was doing it for the Queen. Meghan, who was intimidated by the level of grief and the silence and the coldness, and realised she really has been left out in the cold now with that Ten of Wands, because it's my lonely card. It's the Ten of Wands. You're by yourself. You're on your own. You're going to carry that burden by yourself from now on. And a long, hard journey ahead for Meghan Markle. I think I'll be reading to see what's in store for the Harkles next. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.